Thank you. Thank you. It is a beautiful Tuesday in March.
Forgot what it is.
Welcome back to Jade Talk. It's been a while.
It's been a few months. It's been an eventful few months.
Very eventful. We we dropped the album finally. Took
Yeah.
long fucking enough. Give it up for ourselves.
Golf clap for that.
Looking on all DSPs, and you'll find it in such.
All platforms. Jade Talk. If you want to find us on Instagram, it's Bossman Sound. My Instagram, Who Shy, HUSHAII, double I on Instagram because Instagram's odd. Uh, and then, Mr. Bevel, you can your tag. What is your tag on?
My
Bevel
tag?
Gyra.
Yes, Belvedere. I just come from my first name. If you already follow me, you already are caught up. If you don't, welcome to our club. Welcome to our club. Welcome viewer. Welcome viewer. Welcome viewer. Welcome viewer. Welcome viewer.
Do like a regular show. One of us.
One of us. One of us.
The real ones will remember when Pops drank too much milk and he went to a completely different dimension. That's basically what it's like.
That happens to the boss all the time. Yeah, the time this man spun around too fast and fell into a different dimension. The time he jumped on my favorite was the time he jumped on a trampoline where Ricky bounced him. And he just flew through the sky. Mm-hmm. Just there waiting for this nigga to come down. But this is, as you can see outside, this is a Pops kind of day.
Oh, yeah.
So, and
we are, for those that are wondering, we are toking on the Bear Blend.
Bear Blend.
Bear Blend.
Start off how we usually do. What have you been listening to recently?
All right. You already know what I'm saying.
Do what?
Yes. Zelooperz dropped the one single, Smirius.
Oh.
And for some reason, I don't know, I had that shit on repeat for a couple days.
Oh my God. Okay, yes. Okay. I can't front. That has been on a repeat as well for me. It's funny because my answer was just going to be Zelooperz in general, like specifically like my Microphone Fiend and Van Gogh's Ear. I mean, it's funny because when I first heard Zelooperz, I thought this is cool. Maybe a few bangers gonna be my rotation. Mm-hmm. I did not expect Zelooperz to grow on me into someone I like listen to a lot. Like for him to have two, like, there's a lot of artists I have through a playlist.
Yeah.
Because one of my things is I make my playlist one track per artist and type thing. I try to stick to that rule when I make different vibes, different themes or whatever. But not only does Zelooperz almost constantly challenge me to break that rule on most playlists, but also when I want to listen to him, I'll put on whatever song I have in mind, and I'll end up just listening to the album every time. I almost always end up just listening to the whole album.
Microphone Fiend. For some reason, I'll just keep coming back to that. Not that like, I think I'm in the minority when I say that I like Quasar. And Quasar was like up there for me on the same token. But I think Quasar was going for something completely different than Microphone Fiend.
It felt like it was going for it was a bit more like Van Gogh's ear in the sense that it was reaching out a bit more in terms of flow styles. But it did feel more like it was trying to establish a specific sound with what was it, Quedeca Diesel?
Hmm.
I'm gonna say Diesel because I don't want to fuck up the first name. I don't know where my phone is to look it up. I just don't want to keep fucking name, so I'm gonna say Diesel. But
where is your phone?
Oh, it's in my pocket.
Oh.
See, fact check on camera at this moment. Spotify.
Oh, there's one of the cats.
Oh yeah, one of Mexican. Which one? The black and white one?
No, the gray one.
Oh, that's
Traction.
Casper. Casper is
Casper.
So remember we made the joke a while back that Venus might be on the spectrum?
Casper. I remember Casper.
Oh. Yeah. I forgot you met Casper.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Negro. All right. Yeah, he's...
Casper is the one cat who won't respond to anything.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we made that joke about Venus being on the spectrum before, about her just being like hypersensitive to touch and certain stimuli and whatnot. But we realized, no, Venus is actually a very neurotypical cat.
Mm-hmm.
Casper is the one that is... He is quite interesting.
I see.
I empathize with Casper very much.
Your mic. Try to take up some more material if you can in the clip, so it doesn't flip up, or show some skin for people if they want to see that. If that's the type of show you want, I won't be participating, but I'll be the accountant.
Just get you going.
This 1/10 of an inch of my chest here. There you go.
Quaddy Diesel.
Yeah.
Okay. I fuck with him. I definitely fuck with him. I feel like the project did kind of have this pouring water into a cup of water. I don't mean that
I see what you mean.
Jokingly. I don't mean that like derogatory. But like, what I mean is, I like his style and I like Zelooperz style, but them together just kind of feels like a double helping of two very similar flows. And when I listen to more of Diesel's other work, I felt like I got a better grasp of what made him stand alone more. And it probably just comes down to on that project they really locked into the same vibe.
He even said on some of the tracks later in the project, he was like, I didn't even want to do this beat without like and he just they start to make jokes and like play on each other and go back and forth.
Yeah.
And you could tell what the sessions were like in the studio. You could tell that they were definitely like playing around with certain stuff, and I know Zelooperz is of that kind of like future mindset. We ain't wasting beats.
Right.
So like
right.
So I'm gonna hop on this and flow. Like, just try it, bro. It's different.
If you've actually been in that studio environment often, or you've been in those kind of sessions, you definitely like you can throw on this album, and if you are if you're in the mindset for that kind of vibe,
yeah,
you can love that album.
It's
you can really lock in.
Definitely for ADHDers.
I think it's because I think it's because I feel like I like the kind of variety Zelooperz gives on his solo projects, and especially Microphone Fiend. I feel like
coming off of that, where you have something like climate change into what was like Inju, and it's like way more low key, even though it hits his style.
And then the second half of the project, you really get. It's interesting. I've noticed that Zelooperz he usually puts a lot of the more variety of his projects.
Yeah.
and Out There tracks near like the middle to back end of the album.
Mm-hmm.
And Van Gogh's Left Ear was it had a lot of variety. It was really dope with that. Some of the ideas I feel like were hit or miss, but I feel like on Microphone Fiend, it was almost like a compressor in terms of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Where like it felt like the levels of experimentation and wildness and out there, like you weren't getting anything like the Crash Bandicoot flip.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't getting anything on that level, but so it was more reined in. But in being reined in, you had tracks that felt more focused. Like E-Way. I think it was last year's Spotify Rap, 2023 Spotify Rap. E-Way, or it was that or whatever year it came out, but E-Way literally was like my top 2 songs on repeat for the entire year. Like that's my fucking shit.
I've been okay. So speaking of 454, you're asking what I've been listening to lately.
Okay.
And I have come full circle through Fast Track. So Fast Tracks 3 is more of a masterpiece than I initially realized. And it took me I don't want to say that I feel like I had a good ear for music beforehand from a kind of like classical music standpoint, in like being a part of classical bands and playing in different types of settings.
Both of us, we came into music as music nerds first.
Pretty much.
Before we came into this as artists or recording engineers.
It took really going through the process of making our own project, as well as and understanding like how difficult like certain things can be when you're running into issues with mixing, when you're running into issues with like sounds that you want to create, flowing on a track where you're trying to be creative. Right. Like, oh, I like this. I really love this beat, but this changes time me about 7 times within 5 bars. Oh, how am I gonna ride this? Well, fuck it, I'm just go for it. And then there's
and it's funny that like even as like artist duo, I remember that was a growing pain because there was times where like I had an idea in my head and I just assumed you saw the vision so clearly that I would just be like, hey, just do this, just try this, and you'd be like, I need a bit better of an explanation than that.
I just need you to like spell it out for me and I'll go for it.
On the other end, I'll never forget when I was like, yo, fucking hit on the fucking snares with your bars right there, and you're like, what? Like we had a back for you. You're like, what the fuck does that even mean? And then you just winged it with like just something you came off the top of your head, and like on first try, you did it like perfectly as I imagined it. So it was a growing process of both learning how to collaborate with another person, but also almost learning to trust your abilities to be able to practice something and do it good.
That's pretty much where I'm at with it. It's the learning and also being around a group of producers, a group of engineers, helped me to understand the intentionality of sound. When you're making a project, you have to, and when you're listening to a project, you have to look at it through that lens. Like you can listen to it as just a music fan and go, do I like this or do I not? But when you want to break it down, you have to really give it a fair chance in looking at how intentional was this.
That's why when I talk about how I view a project, anything someone puts out, I feel like whatever medium it is, it should convey 2 things very clearly. What is its I judge it based on these 2 things. What is its intentions, and how well is it at conveying that? Because as deep and complex as Kendrick Lamar's "To Pimp a Butterfly" is,
Mm-hmm.
if you really look at it, that album is extremely face value with every message it's trying to convey.
Very simple.
Everything. Like, you can't understate the fact that the album just starts with a straight up sample of "Every Nigga Is a Star."
Yeah.
And if that isn't one of the most straightforward pro black progressive mantras you could think of.
Mm.
And even like, if you like, there's a lot of instrumentation going on, so there's a lot of instrumentation going on, so it's very complex, and that complexity and dramaticism is there for a reason,
Right?
To give a level of grandiosity and scale to these things he's talking about. But if you actually just look at the lyrics, a lot of times it's not even very esoteric or whatever. It's
the instrumentation is made almost to help him push around the emotion.
Yeah, it's
help
wild.
him rake around the idea instead of being letting it highlight either one side or the other.
Yeah.
Like he's very good at working in tangent with the production.
Exactly.
And like and creating a vibe that almost sets the narrative of what you're listening to.
I actually like,
as opposed to like,
it's one of those, I like the comparison Fantano made where he said it's kind of like a stage play.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's definitely, I think that is something that you don't see as much in modern day music. There are artists that still have that aspect to how they perform and how they create music. They're creating it almost as if they're creating a performance, a stage play,
Yeah.
and they're writing choreography and directing your ears along with what you would be visually seeing with your eyes.
Right.
And then there are artists who create to ride on a beat in a way that highlights the production.
Yeah.
And that is like, because 454 is saying things in his lyrics.
Yeah.
And they're very meaningful things, especially like when you break down songs like Ice Age.
Yeah.
Or if like later in his project when Pig hops on tracks.
Right.
You're like, some of those tracks, like they're actually talking about things, but there are things that if you don't relate to them, you can just kind of focus in on the production behind it.
Exactly.
And they're really not as important
the important thing about that is it creates the onion effect with the project. It makes it so that on first listen, someone can just be all about this motherfucking production. This motherfucking production is crazy.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great vibe. And then later on, as they listen to it more, they can really get into the lyrics. And now their enjoyment of it goes from a just fun musical vibe connection to something that is more intricate and personal and emotional. Just checking that that's still recording. We're 20 minutes. Okay, cool.
I like Ice Age. The way I rock that ice, you would have thought I was a penguin. Don't let them boys influence how you thinking.
And I will never
going down that route. Just let that sink in. I don't want that to be the case. And but when it drops, am I listening to that when we were at the concert? Was I listening to that really?
No,
I was.
Like,
that fucking 808 hit on that dog. I don't want that to. I'm like, oh, my chest.
Oh my lord!
So,
and it's like it. Oh, I'll never forget the fact that you were like, yo, I was iffy on 454.
Yeah.
Up until that concert, and you were like,
I took an L on that. I'll admit that. Like, when I listen to stuff, if I'm going, like, because I had my fucking nose up, I was like, what in the hell is this? No, seriously, like, I could see it, because like, I couldn't even make it out of listening to the whole album. Remember, I was texting you as I was listening to it. Like, I couldn't make it through the whole thing without liking it to an extent. So when we went to the show, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is the context in which I'm supposed to be listening to this. This is like, oh shit.
And once you were finally in the context, you were like, I get it. And then it worked full circle because now when you listen to that music in your own time, it's like the music now just transports you to that headspace.
Yeah.
To that vibe, to that.
I'm not from Florida. My family's from Mississippi in Detroit. That's the generation before me. I live with my great grandparents, and they have rubbed off on me a lot. But when I listen to Fast Tracks 3, I'm from Florida.
Yeah. Right.
Like 100%.
And the thing is, especially when I looked at his one music video and it's like him in the fucking like water, but like the fucking ski boat, freaking shooting at the water and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, now the high pitched voice. Now what it reminds me of is because from North Carolina, like Shannon, North Carolina. I remember those nasally, high pitched, weird sounding dudes who had a mixtape or something out or a CD, and like I get a mix of that, but also with the imagery and with the imagery, which is so important. I feel like imagine if the Florida wildness was like translated as like an N64 Banjo Kazooie type world.
That would be pretty dope.
Like that's what it feels that's the vibe I get while listening to him.
That's
and it's
pretty
like
much.
It's like just like it like in that cartoony platformy style, but like you still like the different worlds and everything is just like just Florida to its core. All the references and NPCs are like things that you would only really experience from living in the South, in like the rural South like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why I feel like 404 is a genius, because I'm like, no, people don't realize this, like, from the whole package is very curated and designed in a specific way.
So when you are Zelooperz and 454, I think have the ability to move into the mainstream. Because I just think they're too cool to stay in the underground for too long. But I don't think that their music is going to be affected by that. I just think that there's a possibility for more people to pick up on it.
They're going to be a part of a generation that is existing in the new definition of what made it or A-lister is. And god damn, that nigga just vaulted.
You're not playing.
If you know old houses from the hood, you ever seen one of those like double china cabinets with a big window?
The bay window with the bench in front of it.
Yeah, and it's like a whole bunch of drawers along the bottom. The cat just vaulted from like the lower part of it all the way to the top to get some freaking to get to the other cat food bowl. He's looking at me now. Because that's not his food bowl. He shouldn't have been able to make that jump because I didn't know he could. Casper. Hey. Get down. Get down. Get there we go.
That's funny.
Oh Lord.
So it almost makes.
But in terms of in this modern age, here's the thing: the A-list celebrity is dying because eyes aren't as concentrated on a small group of people like that anymore. Yeah. It's not uncommon for you to know a guy or a girl, and they have millions, almost tens of millions of followers and sold out stadiums, and you go to work and nobody knows who this person is.
Yeah.
You go to like nobody knows who this person is. Like I cannot name one time in my life yet that I've brought up JPEG Mafia and somebody didn't go, huh?
Exactly.
What?
Exactly. And JPEG almost feels like an old head to me.
bro.
Like JPEG is
You know how many old heads don't know who Danny Brown is?
that's wild. Like that's actually wild to me.
Like
There's just
and the thing is, and that's just and because just that's how the modern media age is now. You find your niche or your thing, and oh, you like JPEG? Join the JPEG Mafia Reddit. Join the JPEG Mafia Discord.
yeah.
And if you join the music Discord, you're going to be recommended this like the people who give you suggestions is going to be a very curated. People act like the underground isn't curated. That's the thing. The underground is just as curated as the mainstream nowadays.
Yes, it's just the ear is more astute.
The ear is different.
Yeah,
that's really it. A lot of the marketing tactics, the focus on having basically the music equivalent of quotable moments that could be like TikTok down. Everyone from top to bottom is on that shit to some degree. And the only people who are standing out are the people who are able to do something different from that, but still grab eyes.
Yeah.
And right now, the only people who are really able to do that either one, their fan base was always grassroots to begin with. Like Danny and JPEG's fan bases were always just grassroots. Really.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a time when there was the casual Danny Brown fan during like old, but like not for long. Not for long. And I don't think JPEG is just now. He's just now getting to that pushing into a potential mainstream name.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that his grassroots fan base has always been online, so it's had the room of the internet to just be big as shit.
I think you've moved into the mainstream when you show up on E-News. Like you're a part of the like music establishment at that point.
If you're on E-News, that's fair.
If you're on any type of
That's
like
fair.
TMZ outlet, if I can catch you as trending on Twitter, like in the top 5.
If the Illuminati media sees you important enough to talk about, then you've made it to that level. But I'll say, the artists actually 454 and Zelooperz, I think they already are gonna be hitting that wave going into the mid to late 2020s.
Yeah,
like getting to that really bigger name. But I think actually the artist I will keep saying that I think really has a shot of really blowing up is Pink Siifu. And I think it is purely because he has a versatility that's not like Anderson .Paak. He's not like a one-man titan as far as I know.
I would say.
But in terms of the way he does his business, the way he does his music, the way he does his shit, it's very reminiscent of those old family bands from like the 70s, 60s, where like every one of his projects has like a huge list of features and other people and whatnot that you've probably never heard of. But you are confident that these are people who are close to him in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And he's really grassrooting it and building a whole ecosystem, a whole community of creatives, a whole family of creatives and whatnot, and supporting each other through working on like Too Rich Benji.
Mm-hmm.
I had actually not heard of Too Rich Benji till that On the Radar.
That put a lot of people onto him. That put a lot of people onto him.
And then right around then, him and Pink Siifu dropped a project. And And then boom, now they're going on tour.
Mm-hmm.
You know who else? I'm pretty sure Zelooperz did the very similar thing. Quality Diesel. They dropped the project together right out the blue.
Yeah.
No one saw it coming. I don't know if they're touring together or not, but I could imagine they are. I couldn't imagine they're not.
It looks like he's on the wave of trying to get all those paintings done. So I don't think he's touring right now. He's showing up and popping up in different places.
Oh yeah,
but you know,
I think that's also going to become a thing. I've noticed
artist merch, direct to consumer.
Direct to consumer. Getting out there and talking to people again, talking to your fans, things like that. Having a good relationship. And that's the reason Tyler the Creator has risen to the level he has is because as many odds and differences he can have with his fan base, he's always been true to himself in a way that has made his core fan base, like since the early Odd Future days, that has made that core fan base be like, oh no, at this point, I genuinely trust this man to lead this artistic voyage, and I'm just here to support along the way, because this man has proved that he can rise through all of it. 100% grassroots, never sacrificing his sound on sheer talent and creativity.
The marketing for a while, the like, we're not horrorcore, but we're horrorcore. Like that definitely that was it was intentional for that, but the be itself was gonna always sound like that.
Yeah,
like the music itself was always gonna go down that way.
When I say like always doing their own thing, I think what I want to be understood is that marketing your shit does not mean being disingenuous about it.
Yeah. I think that's the difference.
Odd Future's early music came from a legitimate replace. A lot of it was hyperbole.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of it was BSing. But it did come from a genuine place of rebellion and wanting to buck standard industry practices and prove that it can be done in a unique way. And not just in a unique way, in a way where, like, the fact that when Odd Future first blew up with all their merch, remember when you could find fake Odd Future merch in, like, Walmart and stuff?
Yeah, you could.
And
it didn't have any logos. It was just, like, that odd Crayola type of style. Like, they would try to mimic.
Yeah. People forget, like, Walmart and Target tried to copy Odd Future for a minute. It was hilarious. Odd Future, just as a whole collective, literally just owned streetwear.
Yeah.
And youth fashion for a good minute. And the thing was that when they first blew up, people were like, well, who's this group? They gotta be signed because their merch is top notch. They're doing pop-up shops, all this stuff. And they said, yo, we running this all out of a basement and a couple of laptops. That's all they was doing. It just happened to be a large group of young creatives.
Yeah.
Who saw who were able to kind of agree on a unifying vision. And that's why it didn't collective last. Because you're never forever going to have the same artistic visions. That's actually why I wanted you to drop that one song as a single. Because I'm like, I want you to really... I love this J-Talk thing. But I love the fact that you're also establishing yourself as Who Shy.
Yeah.
Through like your YouTube channel, dropping your own singles like that. And I'm like, I want... Because obviously you have J-Talk the project, but J-Talk the musical act, I want it to be a thing where, okay, we come together and unite when we've really got something we want to make together.
Yeah, it's like Billy Woods and the Lucid.
Yeah.
So, like, Arm & Hammer is Arm & Hammer, but, you know, Billy Woods does other stuff, collabs with other people.
Yeah, Billy Woods is, like, in between the next big Arm& Hammer drop, Billy Woods is off doing Billy Woods things.
Like Watch the Throne, that was a collaboration between two giants.
Right.
So like, but they were still themselves outside of that. You don't.
Right.
You don't.
It's why it's so funny when I see polls online, like these total rage bait polls online. Like, who are the best rap duos in the game? Drake and Future, Jay-Z and Kanye, Outkast. I'm just like, no, no, it doesn't work like that.
No.
Two guys who occasionally collab because they mutually kind of fuck with each other is not the same as Outkast. It's not the same thing.
Like when you put a name, I think when you put a name to it, like you could. I don't think you can compare Outkast and Arm & Hammer because it's like two different lanes. But I mean, if you really wanted to go there, you could. That would be kind of hard to be like, you know. But
I would say,
but still, in essence, if you wanted to do that, you could go because this is Arm & Hammer, and this is Outkast, and you know what that incorporates.
exactly.
So, but like you can't go. You can't go like Earl and Tyler by themselves.
They technically have
like they were a part of Odd Future at one point, but they themselves do not have a duo. They are their own people at this point.
They had teased at a project called Earl Wolf back in the Odd Future days that never happened. Yeah. So it's interesting to know that the intention to eventually do something similar to that was there.
But it never...
because you really did see them, like... They're both honestly, they're both the biggest headlining titans of their respective lanes. You can argue that there's a lot of great underground rappers. Yes, no doubt. And it will sound kind of corny and potentially dick righty to say it, but we can't act like once MF Doom, R.I.P., left, the throne needed to be filled. And Earl just kind of fit the role. Like, in terms of this more introspective, but not in a conscious rap, but not in a conscious about the political world, but like self-conscious.
Yeah.
Music, like rap that really is just, I'm just going to meditate on my mental state for a good minute for an album type thing. And Earl really established that as a vibe, as a mindset. Almost like, honestly, especially when like, listening to those albums in high school as they came up, as I listened to them, it was almost like discovering a new way to listen to music. To listen to music in direct parallel to moments in which I am specifically, not just I want to relax right now, but I specifically want to focus in on my mindset. And my state of being, my views on both myself and those my loved ones around me, things like that. And that's why I don't necessarily agree when people talk about Earl makes depressing music. Like, some rap songs is not a depressing album.
I think Earl makes very mature music.
Very mature music. That's the best way of putting it.
Regardless of like if you agree with his worldview, regardless of if you agree with some of the conclusions that he comes to.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't, like, I think that's the difference between somebody saying that something's depressing and something's not. Like, if you don't like the conclusions that he's drawing from and how he deals with what he's going through in his personal life and how like the overarching activity in the world is affecting him, like, okay, well, you just disagree.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make what he's saying any less true for him in his context.
Exactly.
In the context of the music that he's making, it's about the mindset, and it's about analyzing these things and talking about how these things relate to you.
Yeah.
And you get to draw your own conclusions based on that.
Yeah.
So once you reach a point of maturity, like when you hit your quarter life crisis, 25, your brain is literally maturing.
Yeah.
You crossed over into the realm where now you're on the decline. Like you're at the peak of a mountain at 25, and you're just slowly rolling forward. So you could either push your momentum in a way that's going to gather the most positive, or you're gonna let it roll and pick up whatever the fuck it rolls into. So
Right.
like it's just I think there's a difference between people who want to go through life and not in their spare time face the realities of how difficult it is.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side there are people who invite that as almost a way to decompress and to help them to feel at peace with what's happening.
Right.
Help them feel at peace enough to be able to actually face it head on.
Right.
So like that's the type of music he makes for the crowd of people who would like to sit down and think about, how is this all affecting me? And listen to his story
Right.
and help you to feel like you have somebody else who's being authentically human and just sharing their experience being human.
Yeah.
Like,
and actually, it's actually what I like a lot about your video, and just the way you decided to go about it. And I feel like it was almost like watching the video. I was like, he found his voice, and he gets it. The way people communicate nowadays is almost like people's heads are already filled enough with enough self-help statistics and quotes and anecdotes and Instagram reels and TikToks and all this stuff about it. So a lot of people know that they have to think about their problems nowadays. Mental health is taken so much more seriously now than ever. So people know they got to talk about their shit.
The awareness, not necessarily the help part,
right?
But everybody's way more aware.
Everyone's so much more aware of it now because they know it's the last barrier. That if that barrier breaks, then my ability to survive in this country just goes down. But the interesting thing is nowadays people want to. That's why video essays and whatnot have taken off so much in podcasts, is because people want to hear someone else's story and listen to how they decided to go through it. Yeah. And in turn, that helps them think about their own problems and fixing it. People aren't looking for... The people who are looking for someone to just lecture them and tell them what they need to do are like incels.
I mean,
the people like
that's the red pill community. If you think about it,
the people who feel as though, I just have everyone's out here really bullshit, and there's a lot of bullshit, yes, but like they're like, I just haven't found the right guru guy, and if I find the right guy sitting on top of the right mountain to train me, then he'll train me to become this, and it's like. No. Once you realize you more so want your relationship with God, and two, you almost become your own guru. You learn to ask yourself those questions. Like if you experience something, you learn to ask yourself, how did that affect me? How am I processing that? Yeah. Is there anything I want to do about that?
What can I do about it, and what could I have done to avoid it? If anything, was this my fault? Okay. Right. Well, if it wasn't, then what can I learn from this to become better? If it was, then what do I need to change?
Yeah.
Like, it's, if it wasn't, what do I need to change in order to improve?
So anyway.
There's like 70 gigabytes available, so we should be good.
Yeah, shot. To bring attention to the hopefully not too angry vaporwave crowd sitting here rolling on. I don't know if it's disrespectful or more fitting to roll on top of DDS. I'll try living like this. This vinyl. This fucking vinyl. One of the most beautiful. Okay, well, we had 13 minutes. We can set that up again. Thanks, PlayStation. But I just want to take a minute to bring attention to this thing because I got this at their show, like Beachland Ballroom. It was funny because like no one in the fucking venue knew who the fuck they were.
Wow, really?
Like it was like me and one other person knew who they were.
That's crazy. That's
type
wild.
thing because they were an opening act, and
oh yeah, yeah. Nobody fucking. I felt like
at the concert you went to.
Yes, yeah.
It was.
I remember like that's why I'm like, oh yeah, I was there. Like what the.
Once they got their shit, once they really, and that's the thing. I hate their live performances because they did it at the first show I went to. It's amazing. It's an amazing show front to back.
But they don't. They don't really engage the crowd much. They kind of like.
Here's the thing. They try to. One, I feel like they don't. They do their own thing, mostly because they know. I mean, like music, they got a lot to do on the board.
Yeah.
Type thing. They're doing a lot. Besides just doing all the chopping and vaporwave stuff they were doing before, you still at the show. They're doing live guitars, live singing, all that stuff. So they really got to hone in on what they're doing on stage. But also, both crowds. The first one severely. It was like me and like two other guys in the whole fucking room who were like, "Oh shit, DDS." But because barely anyone knows who they are, which sucks. I don't know how you can be in the vaporwave live scene. I don't know if you can be in the vaporwave community. Hear DDS is coming, and like not know who the fuck they are.
I'll put it down. I'll relight it.
You're good. That just blows my mind. But they gotta spend. They always have to spend like the first song and a half getting the crowd acclimated to their sound.
Pretty much. That's the part that's kind of odd.
And then once it's finally going, they're already off stage because they only do like 3 songs.
That's all I was surprised they did the songs that they did. Because with those speakers, it felt like it was too ambient. And it wasn't punchy enough. Like, for some reason, I don't know if it's one of two things. Either the songs that they did weren't mixed to use the subwoofers to the best of their ability, or it was mixed in a way that subwoofers couldn't freaking handle it. And it wasn't getting across as in the way that it should have.
My bet it would be the latter. God damn. Okay, this just smacking now. But yeah, or I think it's just I would love to see a show where they're like solo. Like
yeah.
The headliners. Cause like I feel like a full crowd of people, and obviously I'm talking about Cleveland, Ohio here, right? I know like 100% electronica.
Yeah.
At the fucking like in New York and shit. Is that where it's stationed at, New York? I feel like it is. Where they do the big vaporwave like festival.
I'm not sure.
I have to look it up. But yeah, fucking yes, everyone there knows. But I'm talking about Cleveland, Ohio. So we're already talking about a small pool of vaporwave fans.
Yeah, and it wasn't like we were down at a big stadium at a venue where everybody would gather. Yeah, and like opening like, for it. We're in like Lakewood.
We're talking about the vaporwave community. This is inherently a very small community, but for a very small community, like how the anime community was back in the 2000s, like everyone checks them out.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how you're a vaporwave head. If you're a vaporwave head, I don't know how no one at this point hasn't told you about DDS type thing. And at the show we went to, there was a lot more of them. That's why like that really compact crowd right at the front. They knew who the fuck they were.
Yeah.
They were getting into it, type thing. And like, we're not saying it wasn't a great show. It was a fantastic show.
I stood right by the speaker, like right in line with the speaker.
The only problem I have is I want more. I want an hour of DDS. I don't want.
That's what happens when they open for people.
It breaks my heart every time because like I listen to the albums and I'm like, listen. People talk about people making music of like that sounds like futuristic or whatever. No, this album sounds like it's from 2040.
Yeah,
like like DDS they really did construct a sound that is so ahead of its time.
Oh.
Oh, Lord. In fact, is there any closing points you want to make?
Oh. Yep. That just that's pretty much it. That's the yeah. Don't forget to subscribe if you feel like it. Subscribe if you feel like it. Leave us a comment. Tell us about how you feel about what we talked about, and if you have any inputs. And have a blessed week.